We are live. Cool. So we got the Sure Oak team here. I have Roberto, Henrique, Hunter. Roberto does off page work for Sure Oak, and Henrique and Hunter are both on page strategists and also no off page. But we are hoping to do these twice a month, talk about latest news in AI, and hopefully it's a food fight and just lots of opinions. We'll have guests on here talking about different news stories. We got a lot to cover, so lots happened. So first thing I want to talk about is ChatGPT's new release of 4.0, particularly what swept the internet, the image generator. This looks like a pretty big jump in capability. So I don't know if anyone has immediate comments on that, but we have some screenshots to share about what's going on. It was so bad, in fact, that Sam Altman said that they were melting their GPUs on 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 Twitter. So, any comments on that?
I gotta say I'm to blame because I'm using that a lot, like both for fun and for work stuff. Uh, I think yeah, this new ChatGPT feature is great. Um, there are a couple of things that we need to take into account. I tried to create something for Sure Oak, which was basically Michael Jordan playing basketball with a Sure Oak jersey. So that's something interesting because I think we're getting into a kind of a gray area, like in terms of image rights and stuff. So even though I think this will help companies a lot because they don't have to rely as much on like maybe design agencies and stuff, we still need to thread this carefully, right? Because we don't know what, like if we can get sued or something or anything like that. So I think this is very interesting. I think this will lower the costs for many companies in terms of like if they need to hire an agency, they don't need to do that anymore, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know what you guys think, but I think this is like a really, really interesting move from ChatGPT because they have to compete against Gemini and against all these other companies. And this, I think, ChatGPT, apart from Midjourney, is the only one who has like um these image capabilities that are so good.
Yeah, super interesting because already, well, I guess this goes back a bit. I guess lawsuits been going on a while, but the New York Times is already suing over ChatGPT using whatever 100+ years of articles as training data. Right, so that's a major issue. I remember the Michael Jordan image you created. I was like, yeah, let's post that, and it was like, well, we get a lot of trouble. This is definitely his image, rights, and likeness. That would be hard. But like, I was playing with it too. I know you guys have already seen this on our social media, but like, it's pretty amazing. I don't know what Ghibli style is. I'm not a big anime fan, and I don't know why people did that, but like, that was amazing to me that they're able to create an image like that. I it was pretty astounding. And then people are also calling out the what was it? Just they loosened the controls. Like, there you could actually, I mean, they're still going to be against like certain really explicit imagery, but they are loosening the controls around maybe hateful imagery and things like that. So I don't know. I thought that was super interesting. They're going to have to. There's going to be more lawsuits.
For sure, yeah. Like I was trying it the other day, and I took pictures of like my kids, like me and my kids, and it wouldn't create anything because I think again those guardrails that they have, like they take that
Oh,
into account, right? Yeah, around kids. So there are some things that, and I'm glad that they're doing that, but there are some things that we can do. Um, but it's really interesting in terms of like creativity. And again, I think like small businesses can use this a lot because they don't have the budget to hire like design agencies. But in the future, I think they will be able to lower costs for them as a business.
yeah, in the release notes, they talked about, well, continuity of image to keep updating the image. So here they showed on the release notes for 4.0, they showed the cat. Give me a cat that looks like a detective. and then turn it for like a video game display. So you can see how powerful this would be if you're creating a campaign um, without the use of designers. I mean, that's very interesting to me. Amazing. So, any other comments that we can move right along? Cool.
Oh, I do want to add on where I want to actually ask because you got cut off there for a little second.
Okay.
What did you say about the image?
The
Like
continuity.
updating the image. Is it getting better?
Well, yeah. So I mean, they talked more about like the continuity. So if I put
Okay.
a cat, the cat, you can definitely still recognize the cat every iteration, even though you can see its back now, but you can still see it's a calico cat. I haven't played much with the image stuff. I know the early things were very pastel-y, washed out, like give me something in an image of Van Gogh. This is very sharp.
Yeah. No, it's gotten crazy. It's gotten very, very interesting. I think also the combination with the video, now that you can really like post an image, and like I've been kind of trying it out recently with you post a product and then you tell it on the video side, like, hey, give it, I want this growing in the background and blah blah blah, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you play a lot with the music stuff too, right? Don't you, Roberto?
Yeah, I've been playing with the music too, just to, yeah, absolutely.
Is that
Absolutely.
through GPT or is that a different tool?
No, it's called Suno AI.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting. You just put anything you want into it, any style, like basically any concept or the precise lyrics. It's up to you. Like it's also, yeah, depending on the prompt, but it's mind blowing what it can do.
That's crazy. All right, next story. We're going to jump into social media here. But all right, Elon Musk sells his AI to himself, right? So I don't know. Did that? My screen went totally blank on here. Okay, cool. But Musk social media firm XBot XAI valued at 33 billion. Very interesting. We were talking a lot in with our clients about the rise of Quora and Reddit and social media platforms to train the models and how important it is to have a voice on those platforms. Maybe Hunter, I'll flip this one over to you. Any comments about what you're telling clients around, how they need to approach being in these conversations? For B2B, this is really awkward.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, just kind of mulling around in my head. I've spoken with a lot of clients about this. I've, you know, spoken to myself about it, about, what SEO looks like, right?
Talk to
Uh,
ChatGPT about it. Yeah.
Talk to ChatGPT about it. Yeah, exactly. I think more than ever, I mean, the way I explain it to people, and I don't want us to get off track here, but the way I explain it to people is that SEO is becoming more and more like social media, in the sense that it's becoming not that the typical SEO things that we do, anything on page, off page. Not that they're not important, of course they are, but it really is about building a brand, right? It really is about user signals, right? If I were a social media manager and somebody was coming to me for advice on how to grow an Instagram account, well, there are certain things you can do to optimize that account, but it really comes down to, do you have content that people actually like and people actually enjoy, right? And it's unique and authentic, right? At the moment, that seems to be what Google likes about Reddit and Quora, is that they know without shadow of a doubt that these are posted by people, right? Actual humans, and they're authentic, right? Doesn't mean they're always correct. That's kind of the downside to it, right? But it's authentic, right? And people can really sniff out things that aren't authentic, right? So the advice that I give to people is, be legit. You want things to be I want your brand to be as legitimate as possible. SEO is always, or is also moving more towards what I've heard described as SERP domination, which is, yes, you want your website to show up for whatever key term, key phrase that you want, but where else can you show up? Can we get on Reddit authentically, without being, sniffed out? Is there a way to get on Reddit? Can we get on Quora? Can we make get on YouTube, so that not only we have, a chance for our website to rank, but we also have other websites as well.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think Henrik, you and I were having conversations with clients about propping up subject matter experts, SMEs within their own company, less from a brand pitching perspective, but the SMEs actually adding value to these conversations on these social platforms.
Yeah, and one thing like that you mentioned, Hunter, as well, is that, and I think many companies approach this the wrong way, which is like on Reddit and Quora, they want to be overly promotional, and that doesn't work on Reddit. And like you mentioned, those subject matter experts, we need to use those like on Reddit. My advice for clients is that if you want to grow on Reddit, like ask one of your internal subject matter experts, have them create a Reddit account and have them like reply to questions and like there and go there on Reddit threads and like answer questions, but not in a promotional way, but rather like on a very informational, approachable way.
Absolutely. And I think we were talking about also, like not just that, but adding the factor of, like the hyper connectivity where like, this person that's representing you also has a LinkedIn profile and he's got everything, all the tools he maybe, you can see, you can go into the organization and you can see he's part of it, like, et cetera, et cetera. So that really builds up the organic trust by itself.
Do you think this moves X more towards smarter or better ads and more revenue for them on the AI side? I mean, Facebook's Llama is actually monetizing itself using the AI for better ads. Do you think that's X is trying to use its AI for better ad revenue now on his platform? I mean, I know everyone left for a while. Maybe they're slowly trickling back, but
I think what they're trying to do, these AI companies, is going more, and this might take a while, but I think they're going more from an advertising model to a subscription model.
Yeah.
So, and I think X was doing that as well before. They had people like you had to pay to be like to have that blue thing on Twitter or on X. So
Yeah.
I think
Blue
that
check
they
mark.
are going in the blue check market. They need. I think they're moving in that direction. I don't know about the ads. I think it's very hard when you have, like, for example, if you go back to Google or ChatGPT or Perplexity, I think it's very hard to add ads to like an AI answer, right? I don't know. I don't think they have figured this out already.
Yep.
One thing that I've always kind of wondered how Elon is going to figure this out, right? I don't claim to be a social media expert. Is that X or Twitter has always kind of had a hard time with advertising, right? Even back in the full on Twitter days, it was really only good for, I guess, what I describe as just like fluff ads. I don't know how much the return. I don't know what the ROAS has been historically on Twitter ads or now X. But from my understanding, it hasn't been great. Facebook has been, much better. Instagram has been much better. Meta has been much better. So I've always kind of wondered exactly how Elon was going to come in and actually tackle this, because again, companies, even those that were have been on Twitter historically, again, it was just mostly fluff ads. It was just branding, right? So I don't disagree with Henry, where I think he just is moving it more towards a subscription model because people clearly are more willing to pay.
it's definitely a different audience. I mean, you see the leading voices there is more political versus like Instagram, or a lot of the VCs and finance community are there. But yeah, in terms of the B to C voices, that's still pretty dominated by Instagram, Facebook. That's super interesting. So in related news, this is definitely a stunt because there's no way they could do it. But let me share my screen here. But Perplexity got in the news. They said they should be the buyer of TikTok, which has to happen by the time this podcast probably goes live. This will probably already be over. But Perplexity says they can write an open algorithm completely exposing TikTok, and they should be the buyers of TikTok, which has to find a new seller. ByteDance has to sell by April 5th to comply with U.S. regulation. So Perplexity getting into the game. So one, I would love everyone's view on Perplexity. They obviously, most close to us with their own search AI, but they obviously have their own AI now, and they are moving pretty quick. They have a lot of they offered their own deep research platform now. they're making a pretty major move in this. What do you guys think? So this is still related to getting that social media data. We haven't talked a lot about TikTok in our business.
I was super impressed from the beginning, like just I don't know, like the questions have brought upon me of like, why are these big companies, why are they interested in these social media, right? And of course, yeah, there's the advertisational, you got the data, which is like, depends on what you use it for, ad purposes, okay. But I think there's a bigger, and I don't know what it is, honestly, but I think there's like a bigger scope to it. It can't just be ads or, and I see the subscription part, but also I think it would take away too much of a chunk of your audience. So I don't know.
It's got to be the training data that other AIs can't get.
I think you get that really training, and you get a really human training. You get a low character. I don't know. Like I think, yeah, I'm not sure where they're going at, but it's super interesting.
Well, think about all the account stuff behind the Iron Curtain in terms of demographic and user behavior and clicks and what they're viewing. I think that if all the models are trained on publicly available information, and we don't have synthetic data yet, everything's human generated data. I mean, that's probably what they want. Better training, better models.
Yeah, no doubt. It may be a better way to predict humans because you have such
100%.
a large data set of human behavior.
Yeah.
I think there's something else there as well. In terms of, studies show that Gen Z uses TikTok a lot as a search engine. So maybe by integrating both, they can get those Gen Z guys to just search more on Perplexity as well. So they could do that, like integrating both as a unique search engine. So there's something there as well that I think is worth exploring. I don't think Perplexity will get TikTok. I don't know if you guys saw, but I think Amazon now is trying to get TikTok as well.
Oh, really? I didn't see
that
that
would be
one.
an interesting integration as well.
I didn't know Amazon, but I knew Oracle was trying to. So
yeah, Oracle's probably the front runner, but I mean, Amazon's for real. I mean, that's the only other one that could probably.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, so
yeah, absolutely. You can see that would be a good combo.
Yeah, I definitely showed the wrong article. The one I wanted to go to, also Perplexity in the news, they announced their own browser that a couple things they did. So this one's about they partnered with a Seattle-based firm to actually offer hotel booking. So this is the first real like B2C agent type we've seen. You can actually find me a place in Chicago, go ahead and book it. I don't know where we're at with giving our credit card to AI just yet. I don't know, where are you guys with this?
I feel a little old saying this. To me, I'm still a little bit hesitant about giving credit card to an AI, but just that whole having it, plan everything, book this, everything for me, right? Doesn't mean it couldn't get better. I personally don't know if I'm there yet, right? Perhaps a younger generation that grows up with it and it, provided it works, great. I don't know if I personally am there yet.
So what if we did this? So do you have a Google Wallet?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so you got the Google Wallet. ChatGPT has, hey Hunter, here's the lowest rates for this hotel, this flight. Do you want me to go ahead and book it for you? Click pay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, it's not a whole lot different than what kind of already exists currently, right?
What about if they gave you the guarantee also, that if you find a better deal, I'll give you that price. Like you don't have to look for it, but if you do and you find, then I'll give you that price. Like that's our the Perplexity guarantee or whatever, like that'd be crazy. And I think they're getting to that point. Would you try it then, Hunter?
It would probably be a factor. Yeah, I might. Yeah,
you, Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit with Hunter. I don't know. I still don't trust 100% these AI agents to do that for me. but the way things are evolving, I can see them getting better and better with time. So eventually, I think we will all have an AI assistant do booking hotels, flights, whatever for us. So I think, yeah, that's where the future will take us.
Personalized agents that know you, know what you want.
For sure. Yeah, I
I'm
think
still
we're
waiting
getting there.
on what's Elon's robot called again? Is it? Oh my gosh, what a whiff for our show. We don't know a robot, but I can't wait for my Star Wars robot buddy. So go mow my lawn. Now go get the eggs I like and make sure the fruit I like the banana slightly on the green side and make sure that comes back correctly. And here's my credit card, or you already have it in my wallet, right? So I'm that's the future I want.
Would make my life so much easier.
Oh, 100%. So, I mean, if Elon can get this thing down to the price point where he says, under, $10,000, I have my own robot buddy, I'm in. I'm definitely in. So,
Yeah, I saw a funny meme, that talks about like it's a pity that, AI has replaced, all these beautiful activities that humans do, like writing and, photography and drawing and instead of doing like the dishes in laundry, like you'd
yeah,
want
yeah, yeah,
AI to
yeah.
take care of that instead of the creative stuff.
Well, that is interesting. Like, I don't know. There's got to be a line in the sand about, I mean, if we're copyrighted, like IP, like stylistic IP, I know it's hard to defend anyway legally, but if AI now is like this Ghibli, I mean, like that studio has got to be apoplectic about people ripping off their animations. Now I'm making full cartoons in an exact same style. Maybe it's not as soulful. I don't know, but like that's where we're coming from. But
I think to Roberto's point, this is still the difference between software and hardware, right? Right now we are like dealing with just software, like these AI assistants are just software. So for AI to do the dishes, we would need, as you said, like we need to have like a robot hardware. So I don't think companies they are starting to focus on that, but the focus right now is more because I think it's much cheaper, right, to create software than hardware in a sense. And they would have to do this like in bulk almost. They'll have to create like a lot of like robots. They would have to like to manufacture all this. And that's why we don't have like AI do the dishes for us or anything like that, because we don't have the robots for that. We just have like the software right now.
yeah, but you talk about the guys that are sharp in this industry with the rise of agents, where everyone like 50,000 agents all training the robot for the best way to wash a dish, the most like best way to make a coffee, the best way for your Roomba to vacuum, like all competing for the highest output, highest ROI. Like I don't know, Henrik. I don't think we're that far away if they're able to figure out like these agents and the power problem for that. I mean, all the GPUs it takes for one agent to run. I mean, but if they figure out solar and the way to do this, I mean, like I don't these robots are gonna get stupid smart.
I sincerely hope so, because I think that the AI dream, what the dream that they sold us was that humans, as Roberto said, would have more time to focus on like the good stuff, like the creativity, like reading a book, stuff like that. So I sincerely hope that we are moving in that direction. I think that would be awesome for humanity as a whole.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if it's probably more COVID than AI, but reading levels in the US are terrible, literacy levels. So, I mean, people are just letting AI do the work for them right now. So, anyway.
Yeah.
And it used to be when finals were over, ChatGPT usage used to plummet. I don't think that's as true anymore, but like when school was out, there was no use. Like, I think we were out of that time. I think it's way more prevalent. All right. So, keeping with Perplexity, they are teasing, we don't know anything about it yet, but they are teasing their own browser to compete in a very crowded marketplace with Chrome and Edge and all this stuff. Why does Perplexity need a browser? What does this give them? An AI enhanced browser? Is this again more training data, more usage behavior?
I think something that Hunter mentioned is that in nowadays, like if you want to create a solid search algorithm, you need to have user data, and Google does that with Chrome. So they have a lot of user data through Chrome. And maybe this is just my theory, is that Perplexity wants to have that. And to have that, they need to have their own browser, right? I think there's a challenge there. It's, as you said, it's a very crowded market. So they're competing against Chrome, against Firefox, against Safari. I don't know if they'll be successful with this. One thing that can happen, and this is very interesting. So the DOJ is like, there's that monopoly thing against Google. And one of the things that they want to do is to make Google sell Chrome. So imagine this. Imagine if they make Google sell Chrome and that Perplexity buys Chrome. That would be very interesting to see, right? Because they would have like the access to all those users that Chrome has. And that would make Perplexity grow a lot in terms of like search visibility. And it would make Perplexity a very serious competitor.
Wow, that's such a good point. I mean, one thing we always say in our world, why we think Google's the only AI, or Gemini's going to be the only AI that's affiliated with the completely vertically integrated platform, right? It has its own servers, has its own browser, has its own ad, revenue. I mean, it's making money hand over fist. And now like this, the other article, like this is, I don't know if you guys have already played with it, but within the search experience, they're just going to do AI mode. So instead of just like show me just the images or just the videos, show me just the AI output. If they lose Chrome or lose that experience, that's pretty interesting. Have you guys played with this yet?
I haven't seen it available yet. I've tried.
There's beta. I got invited to beta the other day on my personal account, but not on our corporate account.
Okay.
I mean, it's not much different. I mean, rather than just going, it just makes it like, it just reduces that friction to get just to the chat mode for the AI. But I mean, now I may start there rather than going to the SERPs.
Right.
Did you guys see, like, I saw someone on LinkedIn posting this, which was like someone was doing on that AI mode thing. They were doing like a local search, and the list of like sources, instead of like linking back to the local websites, they were linking back to the Google business profile related to those websites. So one thing that people are saying is that Google wants people to stay on Google, right? So this is like super interesting that they're doing that. But I think they are playing with fire, because with these monopoly rulings and all that, I think if they are trying to make people stay on Google, I think the DOJ will come back and say, like, you guys can't do this, so we're going to break up this monopoly and you'll have to sell Chrome.
I don't know. I find that super, super difficult for something like that to happen, like, I don't know. Google will do anything to not let go of that. Like,
yeah. I mean,
whatever it means, like, like whether it's money or moving headquarters, to Panama. I don't know, like, like whatever it takes. Like, I'm not selling this is the money maker, like, or I mean, you need the combo. You think that could happen?
I don't know. I mean, if they have a case against, like, I mean, if you look at technology disruptions, I mean, ChatGPT is a real threat, right? I mean, it's already taking 3 to 5% of search volume, and now Perplexity is coming along. I mean, they broke up the bells, right? The telephone companies, and now no one uses phones anymore, right? Or hardly at all, right? I don't even answer my phone, even my cell phone, right? So I'm on these Google Meets or scheduled calls all the time. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I can't imagine, like, in the face of disruption and legal breakup. I mean, that's going to be very strange, but it might be good for the market too. It might make more disruption.
Yeah, Roberto, I think I tend to agree with the idea that there's no way this could happen. I don't have any proof or any. I'm not saying I want it or don't want it. Maybe it is better for the market, Nick. I would tend to agree that I'm just like I can't see that happening. There'll be some way to get out of it. Again, I'm not saying I necessarily want it to be that way. But Henrik, I wanted to go
Right.
back to something that you had said, where it's, it doesn't seem like Google really wants people to leave Google, right? Which we've seen, in the SEO industry for a long, long time with zero-click searches. It's, seem to start with um, just Google snippets, right? Even before the AI overviews and whatnot. Google's kind of been trending in that direction, so it doesn't really seem that crazy to me that we're trending even more into that direction. Not to get on a tangent, I've always wondered, well, how do they deal with ad revenue? How does all this affect their ad revenue? Because I don't know what the last statistics have said, but Google gets a huge percentage of their revenue just through Google Ads.
Oh,
Right.
so glad you brought that up because that's a really interesting point. So let's say we're now able to book. So let's say we go completely zero click, right? We search the hotel and we do it. Well, so that looked all organic, right? But Google may get a transaction fee or a bounty from the hotel for what they just did. So as a B2B customer, am I buying leads now from the AI? That gets really expensive. So like if ad revenue, I mean, this is another thing that opened up. I'm paying tolls on the toll road now for leads for people to transact with me. So every successful transaction, maybe even, B2C makes a ton of sense, but B2B, if I'm actually getting leads that like pay-per-click type model, they got to be really transparent about what they are getting paid for, what they're not. I mean, it's slightly different than PPC, but it's also like that's super interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had all the answers. I don't want to fear monger. I want to be optimistic, about the future. I'd like to think that, it'll kind of sort itself out, in a good way. There'll be changes that come, but there really is no use in freaking out or getting upset about things.
No, but regulation is going to be slow.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if we're going to look back on this time and think like, oh, remember this like 3-year period where it was kind of the Wild West before these things kicked in. Going back to what you said about and I'm not a huge anime fan either, but like the Studio Ghibli stuff, they're probably like going crazy about it, or just the images in general. With Chat's new image feature. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know why this sticks out in my head, but again, not to get on a big tangent, but it reminds me of there was a movie series in the 80s called Back to the Future. I'm sure we've all heard of it, right? And there was a big court case that happened after the second movie because the dad in the first movie, for whatever reason, it was a contract dispute. He wasn't in the second one. So they basically just got a guy to like look like him, right? They literally put like stuff on his face to like look like him, and they turned him upside down so you couldn't really tell. And he sued, and I think he won, right? And it was kind of this big landmark case in using people's likeness, right? It's not like a logo or a brand, but it's still their likeness, right? And it came from that, or a lot of it came from that court case. And I kind of wonder if there's in the future we're going to be looking back at this time and thinking, oh yeah, they did this, and then there was this big court case, and now they can't do that, or whatever, But that just seems to stand out in my mind. Maybe we'll see. I don't know, but that just sticks out in my mind as a possibility.
Yeah, sci-fi is always on top of all this, right? Because you look at every sci-fi movie, AI is usually illegal, or has absolute safeguards on it, like Dune, like you're not allowed to have thinking machines, all the way to like Terminator, where we didn't have rules and it took over the world, right? So like, what is the government's response going to be to this? But it's an arms race with China right now. I don't know. That's a whole nother topic we get into. We're supposed to be in marketing and Martech, but yeah, that is super interesting. But for us, the zero click experience is something we're watching really closely. Now Google's gone from snippets to full on AI mode, and they got the training data and everything to back it up. And so, but you imagine Gemini still, what it's recommending is still the top 10 SERPs, generally. So we always are telling clients it's traditional SEO practices plus some uniqueness, plus some social media, plus your brand, getting through and being respected, and more human authority.
And I want to touch base on what you said about like the pricing a little bit, and how how that will be like everyone taking a commission, or adding more commissionists to your price. And I think already it already happens. For example, like all these like Uber Eats and all these other,
or Clutch, or you can always
like
have a premium profile. Yeah.
they always kind of like spread that extra expense. Uber, for example, just with their drivers, that does it too. Hey, we've got a low fee for you. Well, guess what? The driver gets paid less than he normally. Uber doesn't take that hit. So I think something like that is what they figure out. They're like, okay, yeah, well, the middleman's going to get less.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you want me to include you and make those sales for you. If not, you can try by yourself.
Awesome.
And I think that's where they got them, like that's what all these food services do, they really take a big chunk. If you want to leave your price the same in the platform as if you go, which makes sense for most people, they take a huge commission out of your profit. If you're profiting 20% out of this dish or this item, well, you're going to profit 5. That's kind of like what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, food, restaurants, groceries, like that's the next. I mean, hotels seems like a no-brainer because it's already integrated. That Uber Eats, that's common, right? Like the 0-click experience. Like, give me my groceries for the week. Give me the recipes, give me the groceries, have it delivered at my door the way I like it. And there's a sale. Like, again, I mean, groceries already thin margins. I can't imagine what that's going to look like. Publix, Ralph's, HEB having to pay that bill. Anyway, we've just did 45 minutes, gents. I appreciate it. I don't know, any closing thoughts? This was awesome. Let's do it again in a couple weeks.
I agree. Yeah, this was awesome. And I think things are moving so fast that we'll definitely have more topics to.
Yeah, this is already stale by the time we post it in 3 days. So, all right.
Absolutely,
all right. I appreciate you, fellas. Take care.
Thank you so much, guys.
See ya.
See ya.